incredible guest, Jeremy Nicholas. Jeremy is a broadcaster, a writer, a very successful speaker. Jeremy, welcome to Brilliant Speaker. Thank you for being my guest today.
You're welcome, Mark. How you doing?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Beautiful sunny day. England at football. We're all happy.
So I'll get straight into the questions, Jeremy. Firstly, Jeremy, can you share your story and into being a speaker, writer, and broadcaster?
Yeah, so I did like my degree at university, which was engineering. So I started doing student radio just to have a bit of fun. And then did a postgrad in radio journalism, then joined commercial radio, then BBC, did a lot of quite serious stuff, Five Live, Talk Sport, BBC World Service, stuff like that. And then I got into speaking by being, asked along to be the MC events. And then I realised that a lot of speakers actually weren't very good, and I was better than them. I thought, right, I don't need to be introducing other people. I'll think up my own stuff. So, yeah, that's how that happened.
Well, I've actually seen you speak at the PSA, Jeremy, and I like the way you add lots of humour into your talks. You always do make people laugh, which is great.
Yeah, so I think humour is important. They always say, should you put humour in talks only if you want to get paid? So I always think, yeah, definitely put humour in. I think a lot of people don't like using humour because they're worried that no one will laugh, but that doesn't matter. Bob Monkhouse always used to say when he was a kid, he told everyone he was going to be a comedian, and they all said, really? And he said, but they're not laughing now, which is quite good, obviously, for a comedian. Yeah.
I used to love Bob Monkhouse, actually. My next question, Jeremy. Your speaking is very much emceeing, and you do a lot of humour and also after dinner speaking as well.
Yeah.
Can you share what type of speaking that is? What's emceeing and what's after dinner speaking?
Yeah, so emceeing is just being on between the other speakers. So it's keeping the flow of the day going. So it's saying that was this, coming up is this. So it's just being the link person, really. To be a good MC, you want to listen to what the person has said and then, just say something off back that shows that you've been listening and that sums up what the audience got out of it. You don't want to summarize their speech, but you just want to say something that makes people think. And then you all the while will be saying, still to come, we've got that brilliant Australian speaker who's coming up after the break, so that, people know to come back, and it builds up this sense of anticipation. So emceeing literally is just the ins and outs. And unfortunately, a lot of event organisers don't bother with MC. They just get an organiser or one of the chief execs or someone to do the MCing. And I think that's a real shame because it's a real art. And, an event can be dreadful if the MC is dreadful. I mean, an MC can't save an event, but if they're rubbish, the event will be rubbish. And then after dinner speaking, it's like keynote speaking or motivational speaking, except there's no real message to it. It's just fun. So if I'm giving one of my keynote talks about how to come across well in the media, something about communication, then there'll be a real takeaway message people can get from it. But if I'm doing an after dinner talk, it's just about the value, just about fun. There's no takeaway value. No one comes away from one of my dinners thinking, "Oh, it's changed my life." They'll just think, "Yeah, that was good fun." So I do a lot of after dinners about my broadcasting career, and mainly about the things that have gone wrong in it, because people love that. No one wants to hear about you winning awards or the time you did this. They just want to hear when you interviewed someone famous, you looked stupid because you made a big mistake or something. So yeah, that's after dinner. No value, just fun.
It's quite shocking, really, that some events don't invest in an MC, because really the MC is what makes the event all fit together. And I suppose it's quite a hard job as well, because you're there for the whole day, constantly having to do slots as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so really MCs should get paid a lot more than all the other speakers. Sadly, not everyone agrees with that. So typically, if you're going to a big conference, particularly if it's one where people have to pay for their tickets, they will go for the keynote speaker, whoever's doing the big talk. That's what gets the bums on seats. But it's the MC that can make sure that the event runs really well. I reckon probably an MC gets paid about 60% of what a top keynote speaker gets. So that's a bit sad, especially as you say, like we're there the first to arrive and last to leave. But also, you don't have to talk for an hour. Do 5 minutes and then you get off, have a cup of tea, come back, do another 5 minutes. So that's quite nice. And what I like about it is you get a lot of time to think about what you're going to say, because you could listen to someone, just think of one funny, clever thing to say, and then come on and do that, and then an hour to think up one more funny, clever thing. So it's not rocket science, but it is quite good if you can do it well.
Well, events, if you're listening, please up the fee to MCs. It's much needed. And with the after dinner speaking as well, Jeremy, to me, that sounds really fun.
It is fun, yeah. But for some people, it would be a bit scary. If it's scary enough to speak in public, especially if you're getting paid for it. It puts a lot of pressure on you. And for after dinner, you have the added pressure that you've got to make people laugh. And for a lot of people, that would be quite scary. So that's why really it's quite a small field. And the people I'm up against are ex-sportsmen and women, Olympians, people have climbed things, people have rowed things, swum things, adventurers. And then often it's business people that come to the end of their career and think, oh, I'll quite like to do the after dinner circuit. So I reckon I've sort of hit a ceiling of being one of the ones who's good, but you've never heard of them. And then the people I'm up against are someone like Jeff Hurst I did an event with, who scored a hat-trick for England in a World Cup final. So he's always going to get paid like 10 times as much as I do because he's famous. So that's why I'm doing this show at the Edinburgh Fringe this year, to try and get a bit more famous. If I have a successful run there, then I think people go, oh yes, he's that guy that did the successful Edinburgh show. So my show's called After Dinner Stories from My Disastrous Broadcasting Career, and it's just all the bits that went wrong. And I think that'll go quite well. I just had a look at the ticket sales, and they're doing all right. So, yeah, I think hopefully that will feed the after dinner speaking after Edinburgh. But if not, what a brilliant time to go to Edinburgh for a month and do a show every day for 27 days, but also go and see loads of other people's shows. It's going to be brilliant.
Well, I do want to chat to you about your event a little bit later. And
okay.
From what you were saying, I know you captivate an audience, Jeremy, and I know you've got lots of humour, and I know you make people laugh. So I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. That brings me to my next question. The speaking industry can be hard, Jeremy, especially for new people coming into it, aspiring speakers. Can you just share a few tips of how to create speaking success?
Yeah, okay. So first of all, let me talk about stuff you know about. There's lots of people that just like the idea of speaking, and they'll just accept a speaking engagement on anything. Just speak on what you are an expert in would be my big thing. And you'll know you're an expert in something, not so much by if you can deliver the speech, but if you can answer all the questions afterwards. If there's any questions, and if you struggle on those questions, then you're probably not speaking on the right topic. If you want to be a successful professional speaker, you've got to speak about something that people will buy. So anything to do with sales is always going to sell, because people would like the team to be better salespeople. So anything on leadership is always sells really well. But other things like I knew a guy who spoke about creativity, how to make your staff more creative. And it was a brilliant talk, but no one really wanted to buy it because they didn't want their staff to get more creative in case they left. So you've got to think they're going to buy stuff that's going to give you some sort of tangible benefit. So I would definitely say do that. And in terms of getting bookings, you've got to have video of yourself talking, preferably on a stage in front of loads of people. But if you're just starting, it might just be you talking to a small networking group, and just get video and put it on so that people can watch it. The number of speakers I see who write loads of blogs and do newsletters and send you all sorts of things, I just want to see whether you're any good at talking. If I'm an event organizer hiring you for my event, I want to see that you can captivate an audience and you have a worthwhile message. So there's only two things to think about. Okay, it's just starting and speaking. Do you have a good message that is something you know about and something people will buy? And have you got some video of yourself delivering that message? If you've got those two things, you're in with a chance. But the number of people who say, oh, I speak about lots of things, lots of things. And you think, well, don't. Just speak about one thing that people are going to buy. And whenever I say to people, can I see a video? Oh, yes, no, I have not really at that stage yet. Well, don't call yourself a professional speaker if you haven't got video of yourself speaking. Literally, just get in touch with your local chamber of commerce, or some organisations, Lions, Rotary, WI, just someone say, can I come and speak in front of you? The only thing is, I want to bring a camera. And it doesn't even need to be a camera now. It could just be a phone, an iPhone on a little tripod, and just film it and then just send it out to people. That's all you need.
Well, what I've taken from that is getting your content and your message clear, definitely making sure you get video, and keeping the video current as well, isn't it? Because it's always like an evolving process. You're always evolving and getting better. So I suppose keeping video current as well is a great tip too.
Yeah, one good way to get that right in your mind is to keep saying to people, oh, I'm a professional speaker. They will say, what do you speak about? And then you need to think, what is my answer to that question? What do I speak about? And you need to be able to say in 30 seconds what you speak about. And it needs to really come to it from the audience's point of view. What benefit will the audience get from it? If you can't say in 30 seconds what you talk about, then it doesn't matter how good you are for an hour, because the most important thing is selling the talk. Hopefully the talk's good when you get there, but the best thing is to sell it. And I know some people who are brilliant for an hour, but they're rubbish on that 30 seconds of saying what they're going to do.
So lots of great tips there from Jeremy. So please show him some heart, share the broadcast, ask any questions. Michael said to the point, great advice, Jeremy. So that brings me to my next question, Jeremy. You've had a really successful TV career. Have you taken any of your skills from television and used them in your speaking journey? And if so, which ones?
The main thing is keep it brief. So I worked a lot as a BBC News reporter. And typically, you'll get 1 minute, 30 seconds to tell your story. And the number of times people who start in TV reporting, they'll make something, it'll be 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes. And actually, if you get into the habit of telling any story in 1.5 minutes, then it means that brevity makes you a better speaker. So I started in radio, and then I moved to telly, and I would make 2-minute reports, and the producer said, it's just too long, you need to cut that, and get really good at realizing which bits don't need. Cut all the fat away, just keep the point. And if you have a really good story, perhaps the producer will say, that's quite good, you can have 1 minute 45. And you've got an extra 15 seconds. And that means that you've probably got one of the most interesting pieces in that night's news report. But that's a really good message. And I think a lot of people, when they start, they're thinking about what to put in. And if they've got to talk for an hour, they think, I'll put that in, I'll put that in, I'll put that in. And then they get too much in. And actually, a better way is to think what you're going to leave out and almost start again. And then think, right, which are the essential bits? Put those in, and they are the essential bits. And only then, if you've got some time left, put the extra bits in. But too many people just put everything in and then think, what am I going to lose? Don't do it like that.
Great tips again, and I've actually learned that one myself, Jeremy, because with my keynote I'd put about 7 takeaways, which was far too many, so I'm just in the process of taking some takeaways out and going deeper with those takeaways. So that is definitely a really good point, what you made there, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now, you have an event coming up, Fringe in Edinburgh. Can you tell us a little bit about the event?
Yeah, so the Edinburgh Fringe, people always talk about the Edinburgh Festival. There's actually about 6 different festivals all going on at once, and one of them is the Fringe, and that's the bit that people usually mean when they say festival. So it started in 1947 after the Second World War, when obviously people weren't getting on very well, and Britain thought, let's put on an event to bring everyone together. Edinburgh was the least bombed city, so thought that would be a nice place to come. And they put on the Edinburgh Festival in 1947. There were 6 theatre groups that pitched up, and they hadn't got room for them. And they said, oh, you can't be in the festival. So they set up their own little festival on the edge, and that was called the Fringe, because it was on the fringe of the city. And that now has become massive. And so I'm doing a show there, and there are 3,548 different shows at the Edinburgh Fringe this year. So goodness knows why anyone would pick to come to mine. But hopefully some people will. It's just rammed. It's an hour. It's every lunchtime, 1:30. I'm doing every single day, 27 days, a place called the Gilded Balloon Teviot, which is one of the top venues actually. It's where loads of big comics will be on. It's a comedy show. So the big names will be on sort of 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I'm on 1:30 at lunchtime because it's my debut show. So you wouldn't expect to get a very good slot for your debut show. And it's full of stories like the day Brian Clough punched me, who's a football manager, or a bit lively with an interview. The day I was ambushed live on radio by a man who said he had a machine gun and had a statement to be read out. Terrible interviews with people like Christopher Lee, the actor who played Dracula. Disastrous interview I did with him once. A massive mistake I made at the Paralympics when I was commentating to the whole world. I made a big mistake and just about got away with it. Just things like that, really. And yeah, all the way through, I just it's like stand comedy, except all the stories are true. And I always say that to people. So that's why some of them are not very funny, because the endings aren't perfect. Because that's what really happened. If I'd written it, I'd put better endings in. But yeah, it's a good show, and it's booking well. And I'm doing previews across London and the country at the moment. I think I've got 5 left to go, but they've been going really well.
Well, I hope you're not going to punch me after this interview, Jeremy. And it's great that the show sounds so real. Like you've said, that the stories are all real stories. So that's great. And if it makes people laugh too, that's even better. So I will put the links to that in the comments later. Do go and see Jeremy, audience, because he's absolutely amazing. He'll definitely make you laugh. So I will share the link to that later, Jeremy. Also, Jeremy, can I ask you, what's new for Jeremy? I know you're busy with your event, but what's new for Jeremy? What are you working on right now?
So I've been doing a lot of award shows lately. I did the Employee Experience Award, the Financial Services Awards. I've always done a lot of award shows, but I seem to be getting more and more of those at the moment. And I think the reason I get those is because the ideal person to host an award show is probably a comedian, because they'll be funny, but the worry is they might swear or do something inappropriate. So you'd quite like a BBC presenter to do it, but then they might be serious. So I'm somewhere in the middle, and I've got the BBC background, and then I've also got humour background, because I've done a lot of comedy. And I don't ever swear. I trained myself very early on not to swear in real life, because I'd know that when I was going to be on the radio, I didn't have to think about having a filter then. So that the award show's a big thing. I hosted the Good Funeral Awards for people in the funeral industry, and that was a real high point. Pamson Clent did it one year, Ian Lavender did it, and then one year they didn't have much of a budget, so I did. So yeah, I think that's quite a useful thing. You've got to find your niche. Anything to do with speaking, you've got to find your niche, and I'm somewhere in that area where you want someone with authority and information, but you also want them to be funny, but you don't want them to be inappropriate. And that's me, and that's why I've gone for this lunchtime slot at the Edinburgh Festival. And my show is suitable for anyone 12 and over. I mean, there's no bad language in it. And to be honest, 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds can come. There's nothing to stop them. I'm just saying probably 12, they wouldn't laugh much before that. But yeah, I think that's the thing. Find your niche. So award shows have been very big for me, and after dinner's very big. And then at the moment, it's all Edinburgh. I'm very, very focused. I've got a gig tomorrow night at the Hen and Chickens in Islington, in North London. The Hen and Chickens Theatre Bar, lovely little venue, traditional place to try out Edinburgh shows. It just seats 50 people, and it's where all the big names have done their previews, and it's going to be brilliant to do that tomorrow night.
Well, I'd recommend everyone go to see Jeremy. You'll get best of both worlds. And Jeremy, can I ask people how they can connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Jeremy Nicholas. I'm on Twitter at Jeremy_Nicholas. And my website's jeremynicholas.co.uk. And on there is a list of all my preview shows for Edinburgh. So come and see me. Hen and Chickens tomorrow night, Sudbury in Suffolk, where my family live. That's on Saturday night. And I'm doing Clapham and Twickenham on 4th of July, which is where I live now. Twickenham. It's going to be a big one, 4th of July. Independence Day. It's easy to remember. Yeah, so jeremynicholas.co.uk is the best place to contact me.
Well, Jeremy, you've shared lots of wisdom. You've gave lots of tips and takeaways. I really appreciate your time and taking time out of your schedule today, because I know you're a busy speaker. And I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with everyone today. So thank you for being on Brilliant Speaker. I will share the links to Jeremy's event. Please go out and check him out and go and see him. He's absolutely amazing. He'll definitely make you smile. And thank you for being on thank you for being on Brilliant Speaker, Jeremy.
You're very welcome. It's been great. Cheers, Mark.
See you soon. Take care. Bye.